The camera fades in on vintage footage of Fleetwood Mac performing. The crowd wild with energy. A voice cuts through. They created some of the most iconic music in rock history. But behind the melodies was a storm that almost destroyed them all. Cut to Stevie Nicks, now 76. Her eyes reflecting decades of complicated history. There are some wounds that never fully heal. No matter how much time passes, the screen flashes with headlines about Lindsey Buckingham's firing from Fleetwood Mac in 2018. Today, Stevie Nicks finally breaks her silence on what really happened with Lindsey Buckingham, the creative genius she couldn't live with, and the man she ultimately couldn't work with anymore. Before they were rocklegens, Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham were just two young musicians with big dreams. Their story began in the early 1970s when they formed the duo Buckingham-Nicks, chasing fame in the unforgiving music industry. Their connection was electric, both musically and romantically. Stevie's ethereal voice paired perfectly with Lindsey's guitar virtuosity, creating a sound that felt almost magical. Their chemistry wasn't just audible in their music. It was visible in the way they performed together, bodies swaying in perfect synchronicity, eyes locked in a private conversation only they understood. But even then, in those early days of pure creation and passion, warning signs flickered beneath the surface. Lindsey's perfectionism clashed with Stevie's free-spirited approach. Their love was intense, the kind that burns too bright to sustain, and the pressures of trying to break into the music industry only intensified their conflicts. The duo caught their big break in 1975 when Mick Fleetwood, desperate to reinvigorate his struggling band, and invited them to join Fleetwood Mac. What followed was nothing short of musical alchemy. The addition of Stevie and Lindsey transformed the band's sound, completely injecting a fresh commercial appeal that would soon catapult them to superstardom. But success came with a heavy price. As the band's popularity soared, Stevie and Lindsey's relationship deteriorated. Their different creative approaches became increasingly problematic. Lindsey, the meticulous producer and arranger who demanded perfection, and Stevie, the intuitive songwriter who cherished emotional authenticity above technical precision. These opposing philosophies created a creative tension that, while producing incredible music, was devastating to their personal connection. The strain became unbearable, and their romantic relationship crumbled under the weight of fame, creative differences, and the complications of working together daily. The collapse of their romance didn't end their creative partnership. It transformed it into something even more complex and volatile. Their breakup became the emotional fuel for Fleetwood Mac's masterpiece album Rumors, which sold over 40 million copies. Worldwide, songs like Go Your Own Way and Dreams weren't just hit singles. They were emotional grenades thrown between former lovers across the recording studio. Lindsey's bitter accusations and Go Your Own Way with lyrics like Packing Up, Shacking, You Piece All You Want to Do were met with Stevie's haunting response and Dreams. Players only love you when they're playing. Their pain was laid bare for the world to hear. Their private heartbreak transformed into public art. The band's internal dynamics grew increasingly complicated as they toured together, forced to perform these deeply personal songs night after night, while navigating their complicated feelings for each other. The stage became a battlefield where old wounds were opened with every performance. The emotional complexity between Stevie and Lindsey wasn't just limited to their romantic past. Their creative relationship was equally fraught with tension. Lindsey's controlling tendencies in the studio often left Stevie feeling artistically stifled. He was known to rework her songs extensively, sometimes changing their fundamental character in ways that left her feeling disconnected from her own creations. He wanted to control everything. Stevie later revealed in interviews, "My songs, my image, my performances. It was suffocating." This creative struggle manifested in heated arguments during recording sessions with band members often caught in the crossfire. Christine McVie, John McVie, and Mick Fleetwood frequently found themselves playing mediators between the warring ex-lovers. Despite these conflicts, or perhaps because of them, the music they created together possessed an emotional depth that resonated with millions. Their inability to resolve their personal issues paradoxically fueled their artistic collaboration, creating a complicated legacy where their greatest achievements were inextricably linked to their deepest pain. The 1982 release of Fleetwood Mac's Mirage album marked a period of relative calm for the band, but the underlying tensions between Stevie and Lindsey remained. During this time, both pursued solo careers that allowed them creative freedom outside the charged atmosphere of the band. Stevie's solo success with albums like Belladonna and The Wild Heart established her as a formidable artist in her own right, shifting the power dynamic within Fleetwood Mac. Lindsey's solo efforts, while critically acclaimed, didn't achieve the same commercial success, creating another source of friction between them. When the band reunited for 1987's Tango in the Night, the old conflicts resurfaced with new intensity. Lindsey's frustration with the band reached a breaking point, and he left before the album's tour. This separation marked a significant chapter in the band's history, with Lindsey's departure leaving a void that fundamentally altered Fleetwood Mac's sound and internal chemistry. The 1997 reunion for Theedence brought Lindsey back into the fold, setting the stage for one of the most memorable moments in the band's tumultuous history. During their live performance of Silver Springs, a song Stevie had written about Lindsey that had been left off the Rumors album, decades of unresolved emotions erupted on stage. As Stevie sang the lyrics, "You'll never get away from the sound of the woman that loves you." She turned to face Lindsey directly, her voice filled with a raw intensity that stunned the audience. The moment captured the essence of their complicated relationship, the anger, the hurt, the lingering attachment, and the undeniable, creative connection that still bound them together after all those years. It was both a confrontation and a confession, revealing that despite everything they'd been through, their story was far from over. This powerful performance became iconic among fans who saw in a confirmation that the emotional currents between Stevie and Lindsey remained as strong as ever. The following years saw Fleetwood Mac continuing to tour and perform with various lineups, but the tension between Stevie and Lindsey never fully disappeared. It simmered beneath the surface, occasionally boiling over in public ways that kept their complicated dynamic in the spotlight. The final breaking point came in 2018 when Lindsey was abruptly fired from the band. The official reason cited was scheduling conflicts for an upcoming tour, but insiders revealed a more complex situation. Stevie had reportedly reached her limit after an incident at the Music Cares Person of the Year ceremony honoring Fleetwood Mac. According to sources close to the band, Lindsey had behaved disrespectfully during Stevie's acceptance speech, rolling his eyes and smirking in ways that she found deeply hurtful. After decades of managing their difficult relationship for the sake of the band, this was the final straw. Stevie allegedly gave the band an ultimatum. Either Lindsey went or she did. Given her importance to Fleetwood Mac's commercial appeal, the decision was made to continue without Lindsey. Lindsey's version of events differed significantly. He claimed he was blindsided by the decision and learned of his firing through a phone call from Mick Fleetwood. He later filed a lawsuit against his former bandmates, which was settled out of court. In interviews following his departure, Lindsey suggested that Stevie had orchestrated his removal because she couldn't handle working with him anymore. "I think it was just Stevie wanting to shape the band in her own image," he told one publication. The public split created deep divisions among Fleetwood Mac's fanbase, with some siding with Stevie and others with Lindsey. The band continued touring, with Mike Campbell and Neil Finn replacing Lindsey while he pursued his solo career with renewed focus. The separation seemed final, a decisive end to one of rock's most productive but troubled partnerships. In the years following the split, both Stevie and Lindsey reflected on their complicated history with a mix of nostalgia and lingering hurt. Stevie, in particular, seemed to find a sense of peace in her decision to distance herself from Lindsey. There comes a point where you have to protect your own heart and sanity, she told Rolling Stone in a rare interview addressing the situation. We created beautiful music together, but sometimes the price becomes too high. She acknowledged the brilliance of their creative partnership, but maintained that the emotional toll had become unsustainable. Lindsey, meanwhile, experienced serious health issues in 2019, undergoing emergency open-heart surgery that temporarily damaged his vocal cords. The health scare prompted messages of support from his former bandmates, including Stevie, suggesting that despite everything, there remained a bond between them that couldn't be entirely severed. The legacy of Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham's relationship extends far beyond their personal drama. Their story represents something universal about creative partnerships and the complex ways love, art, and conflict intertwine. The tension between them produce some of the most enduring music of the rock era. Songs that continue to resonate with new generations of listeners who recognize in them authentic emotional truths. The push and pull between Stevie's mystical narrative songwriting and Lindsey's technical brilliance created a musical chemistry that neither could fully replicate with other collaborators. Their inability to resolve their personal conflicts became, paradoxically, one of the defining elements of Fleetwood Mac's appeal. Fans weren't just drawn to the music, but to the real human drama behind it. The love, the heartbreak, the resentment, and the occasional moments of reconciliation that played out both in their songs and on stage. Today, as both artists continue their separate journeys in their 70s, their intertwined legacy remains a fascinating case study in the price of artistry. The music they created together stands as a testament to the creative power that can emerge from emotional conflict, beautiful art born from beautiful disaster. Their story challenges the conventional notion that harmony produces the best creative results, suggesting instead that sometimes it's the friction that creates the spark. For Stevie Nicks, who has built an iconic solo career while maintaining Fleetwood Mac's legacy, the decision to finally break with Lindsey represented a choice to prioritize her peace over their creative partnership. It was the end of a chapter, but not the end of the impact their relationship continues to have on rock history. The camera pans out from footage of their last performance together, then cuts to separate interviews with band members reflecting on what might have been. A final montage shows their evolution from young lovers to music legends, culminating in a split screen. Stevie performing with the current lineup of Fleetwood Mac on one side, Lindsey on a solo tour on the other, but then a Raider's voice returns. Some partnerships change music forever, even as they destroy each other in the process. Stevie and Lindsey's creative fire gave us timeless songs, but at a cost few could imagine. Their final chapter may have been written, but their music ensures their complicated love story will echo through generations. Sometimes the most beautiful harmonies come from the most painful discords. As the screen fades to black, Stevie's voice delivers the final line, "We made magic together." But sometimes even magicas. It's